Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think this hearing maybe is the best argument for a simpler flat tax type deal because we look at OPM, we look at the IRS, ACA, every government agency recently in the last year or two or three at the most seems to have had a major data breach, and every time it starts out with a lower number, such in your case with the IRS, of the 300, then it goes to 7. Same thing happened in the OPM. Started out a few million, went up to 24, 25 million. So again, you know, I personally, and I think everybody listening to this hearing would rather be responsible for their own security because, you know, our agencies are having major problems getting it right. And again, when I'll talk to you, Mr. Koskinen, about you guys, you know what you need to do. I mean, from a single identification to a multiple, I mean, that's pretty common sense stuff. And it's not like these things were born of yesterday. I mean, these things have been going on for a long time. And I know you guys are asking for more money, so help me out here. Of the $290 million that we, as Congress, gave you for this fiscal 2016, I'm told, and you can certainly correct me if I'm misstating, but how much of that went to employ temporary people to help on the toll-free line?
Happy to. I would note, by the way, that government agencies are challenged. Everybody's challenged. Target, Anthem, J.P. Morgan Chase.
I understand that, but I mean, we've been here so many times that we just keep going to the same well, and the water keeps coming up dry.
So with regard to the $290 million, which again I would say we appreciate it. It's a step in the right direction. $178 million was devoted to taxpayer service last year.
So is that about 1,000 employees?
So we hired slightly over 1,000 employees, temporary employees. We hire 8,000 to 10,000 temporary and seasonal employees to help with filing season.
And I guess my point is that 178 million did not go to specifically fight cyber crime.
No, the other then of the 178, 95 million went to cyber crime.
Right.
And another 16 million went to identity theft, primarily to support our partnership with the private sector and the states.
All right, so I'm doing the math and certainly don't want to disparage any employee at the IRS. I'm sure they hopefully earn their money every day, but 1,000 to 178 million, that's $178,000 per employee. Is that the normal salary? I mean, I may want to apply there.
I'd apply there. It's more than I make. No, the 178,000 includes all of them, the supporting issues that go with it. The major expenditure was the 1,000, but they get paid at in the $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 range. The 178 million that was spent there was all the supporting systems to, in fact, get our level of taxpayer service up from last year's 37% to this year 72, 75%. So you can actually get somebody on the line within a few minutes this year. Last year you had to wait for 30 to 40 minutes. 60% of people couldn't get through at all.
Okay. And I know the OMB requires you guys to reassess and look back at your security procedures. And I guess the question, again, going back to the earlier statement, why don't you guys conduct an authentication process with your IP issue, your IP pin problem? Did y'all review? Did you look ahead? Why didn't you follow OMB guidelines?
We actually followed OMB guidelines and the NIST guidelines as well when we were establishing these programs. As I noted, what happens is life gets more complicated as you move along. What used to be acceptable no longer works. With the IP pin, as I noted, we brought it back up this year because we added another level of authentication. We monitored every return filed as a result of anybody accessing that system, and therefore are reasonably confident that, and as our life has shown, the vast majority of people using those IP pins are legitimate taxpayers. We ultimately brought it down when our monitoring of each one of those accesses identified that there were an increasing number of criminals trying to get through. The vast majority of criminals couldn't get through, and so we shut it down, deciding that while it was a great convenience to taxpayers, at that point it needed to be brought down because of our concerns about security.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I yield back.